Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope I am audible to everyone. Am I audible? Hello. Okay, sir. I would like to share. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am. Is my screen visible, sir? Thank you, sir. So today I shall be conducting a small talk on just a minute. Critical thinking and creative thinking. So first, I would like to say that it has been established by research that critical thinking and skills both are vital skills and crucial to succeed in 21st century. So they are inseparable, critical as well as creative thinking. So is thinking a skill? Yes. Thinking refers to a range of mental activities that help us to understand, connect, analyze, test, apply, and create. Cognitive scientists today view that thinking as a skill can be deliberately taught and developed rather than as an inborn and fixed trait that can only be managed as we had been thinking before, we thought before. So there are types of thinkings like critical thinking. It is an ability to conceptualize, apply, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate ideas and evidences to form valid judgments. Second is creative thinking, the ability to look at problems with original, unorthodox, and fresh approaches or points of view. And metacognition, it is the ability to think about one's thinking, to have awareness of and to modify one's own thought processes. So there is a relationship between critical thinking and creative thinking, as you can see. While critical thinking and creative thinking are usually thought to of being an opposite ends of the spectrum of thinking, the fact is that there is considerable overlap and interdependence between the two. As you can see in the Venn diagram, while critical thinking is considered to be analytical, structured, and methodological, it does use imagination and process with interference. Meanwhile, creative thinking, using perceived as flawless flowing and understanding, is also made possible through structured routine and strategies. So they all are overlapping, and that's why they are important part of thinking skills. So you can see here also critical thinking, analyze the problem, plan a problem, evaluate the problem, implement the problem. Creative thinking, imagine, apply, and improve. But they are interconnected. So, what are the building blocks of logical reasoning? First is inference. Inference refers to a logical process in which new conclusions are arrived at from the given premises. It's method of creating new knowledge from the previous one. As we all know, after going statements, inference inference may be carefully or carelessly made, and but the common characteristic of inference is that they are statements about matters which are not directly known. Statements made on the basis of what has been observed. It is a method of creating new knowledge from prior or given knowledge. Second is inductive reasoning. So, inductive arguments help scientific generalization that can predict or describe the natural world. Inductive reasoning is the bottom up process through which pattern is detected through multiple and repeated observation to infer a generalization. For example, I can say, uh, I saw a swan and it was white. I saw a second swan and it was white. I saw the third swan and it was white. So all swans are white. That comes from the inductive reasoning. That can be the example of inductive reasoning. So the reliability of inductive reasoning and strengthening by increasing the number and range of observation. The more the observation, the more we can come to the inductive reasoning. Then second is deductive reasoning. But before that, I would like to say that the inductive reasoning can be or applied or it can be used to create generalization in any subject, creating predictions, forming theories, establishing cause effect relationship. Now, coming to the deductive reasoning, most of you must be knowing it is also called top down logic. Deductive reasoning uses generalization to work down towards specific conclusion, that is from general premises to specific conclusions. For example, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. So, but there is relationship between inductive and deductive reasoning. For example, unlike inductive logic, which is prone to statistical exceptions and aberrations, deductive logic offers great certainty. The conclusion necessary follow from the premises when the correct form is used. So, now coming to the abductive reasoning. What is abductive reasoning? It's the process in which one derives the best possible explanation from multiple alternatives by eliminating some and by this, missing the others. So, in this, we can say that creative building block form problem solving. Now, how can we create building blocks of problem solving, which is a important part of critical thinking? First is explanation. We know that explanation is a kind when we give justification given for a belief or a frame. They can be changed if disproved. They are based on explicit and clear assumption. Like the Freire model is, it can say, you can see this, there is a model given by Freire in which he said that this building explanation can be taught and we can make students a critical thinker. Then is the like hypothesis. We all know that when there is certain observation and we come to the tentative hypothesis and then we predict, test and falsify. So the test, it is a tentative proposed explanation for phenomenon that is subject to testing. Then the patterns. See, this is the pattern which you can all see. You can find it that there are certain designs. So these patterns also are important for critical thinking. Why? Because while patterns are primarily found in nature, many patterns are made by human beings. Like daily sunrises and sunsets. This is a pattern in the nature also. A DNA has a pattern. This is a kind of DNA structure which you most of you might be knowing. So there is a pattern. From the pattern, the critical thinking, if we tell these students about the various patterns in the nature or in the scientific system, they can come to certain conclusions. Then comes the models. As we know that as teachers, we know various models. There are simple models which I have shown in the diagram. A model is a representation of an idea, an object, or any even a process or a system that is used to describe and explain phenomena that cannot be experienced directly. We can see there are certain models which I have shown. So models simplify complex concept and phenomena, as we all are aware. They make it possible to understand phenomena that cannot otherwise be studied or experienced. But there are certain disadvantages. In the process of simplification, many unique details and features are left out. The scale and magnitude of the original object or phenomena of study is lost in the explanation. So, analogy, a comparison between one thing, another thing, typical for the purpose of explanation and clarification. I personally used analogy for the critical thinking or for the imagination, creating the logical thinking of the students. For example, uh, there are certain systems which we can compare together, and analogies change over the time, like data models or surface models in computer science, model of relation with a consumer. So these analogy, or we can compare the uh, flow of water to the blood flow system. I use the feedback with eardrum. So there are certain analogies which help the students to infer or to come to the logical conclusion. Now, creative thinking skills. First question is how we think. कैसे सोचते हैं? Right side, left side, we all know that non-verbal, right side is for non-verbal, informative, we draw conclusions, and voice tones, creative, all these things. Spoken, and left side is for spoken and written language, sequences, word analysis, filling forms, number, letter, analytic. But creativity is typically defined as the ability to come up with new and useful ideas. Because initially it was thought that only the critical thinking is important. But creative thinking is always important because, as we studied in the previous slides, that they are both connected and coming to the new ideas, both are required. So, creativity is typically defined as to come up to new and useful ideas. The result found that three distinct brain works were key to most creative because it was firstly thought that only the particular side of the brain is used for creative thinking and the other side is used for critical thinking. But in it is found that various brain nerves, they are connected and they are activated towards when we go for creative thinking. Like these are known as default network related to brainstorming and daydreaming. The executive control network, which activates when a person needs to focus, and the silence network, known for detecting environmental stimuli and switching between executive and default brain network. The research states that both hemispheres of the brain have to work together in tandem or generating new ideas, both critical and creative. Contrary to popular belief, both sides of brain used across the subject. Brain imagining studies reveal that innovators tend to synchronously use neural networks located in both hemispheres of the brain while engaged in creative tasks. Now, what are the various types of creative thinking? We all know that there are various types of creative thinking. Number one is divergent thinking, second is lateral thinking, fourth is aesthetic thinking, and system thinking and inspirational thinking. Now, what is divergent thinking? Very important. Divergent thinking is that involves exploring all possible alternatives, options, and perspective possible, however extreme. Thinking about the various possible from one point to lateral points. Then later thinking, non-sequential thinking involving skipping one logical step or foregoing them all together. Then aesthetic thinking, creative thinking in terms of harmonious composition, arrangements, color balance, which mostly artists do have this, sensory appeal and pleasure. System thinking, thinking that involves reflection of how parts of system are integrated to each other and the whole, as well as how entire system relate to one another. And inspiration thinking, characterized by certain insights or inference or quick realizations where the subconscious mind is at work. Now there you can see this 4C model. What is this model? Mini C, 4C. This model was given by Kumpaf and Benot in 2009. Here you can see the graph between context for new ideas, their implementation, and socio-economic culture and impact. And evident from this infographic, mini C creativity, little c creativity, pro C creativity, and big C creativity have increasing socio-cultural significance and impact, as well as context for new ideas and their implementation in this specific order. For example, big C creativity, which is the extreme, right, is explanation and thought of as groundbreaking examples include the Newton's theory of gravitation in physics, or elucid axioms in geometry, or even the discovery of jazz. It starts from mini C. Like in the classroom, when this child goes to the school, what can be done? Mini C creativity, which we can generate in students, is a novel and personally meaningful interpretation of experiences. This kind of creativity is often seen in classrooms, can be supported and developed by teachers in the classroom. Examples include, for example, children writing an imaginative short story based on a regular occurrence in school, or students finding a new way to solve math problem. So it is transformative learning, personally meaningful interpretation, or experiential actions and insights. And it changes the understanding. Then comes literacy. It's used to solve complex everyday problem in novel, new, original, and meaningful ways. Examples include upcycling an old tire as a seat of an interior designer, or putting together a new recipe after tasting many dishes. So schools can provide that platform for this kind of creativity. So everyday creative thoughts and actions in every aspect of our life. So it impacts the individuals and their zone of influence. Then pro-C creativity involves skills and knowledge developed over long and extended periods of time, and as such does not immediately fall in the scope of classroom teaching in schools. Example include like a mathematician who has a doctorate, teaches in a university, and then publishes a paper based on his research over the years. So this is pro creativity, which most of you are working on. So it is impact is on organization, field system, or practice or market. Then again, I have already discussed the big C, which various theorems and various generalizations and various inventions are out of this creativity, that is big C. So now there are questions to ponder. Do you these categories of creative thinking have to be used in this order? Do you think these boundaries can be blurred? If so, productive, I produce example. To which categories of creative thinking do you think are most relevant to schools and why? Can you think of some examples of big C creativity specified to the subject you teach? So these are the questions which you all need to ponder on. But there are certain blocks to creativity. Why people don't go for creativity? Because there are certain fears like making mistakes. I can't make mistake. I can take this thing. Looking foolish. Oh my God. If I do this, I may look foolish. Being criticized, which is the greater hamper in creativity. Being alone. No one will support me. Being outcast. Disturbing traditions. Being associated with taboos. So all these things are, I can say, they are hampering the creativity. Now, misconceptions about creativity. Creativity is limited to arts because we think only artists are creative, but no, a scientist is also creative. A person creativity is pure inborn talent. No, the very first slide I said that creativity can be inculcated. Creativity is naturally fun. It doesn't require conscious support. It does require because many parts of the brain. If a poet it sits to write, he or she consciously needs think on that point in which he wants to write. Prior knowledge is not required to think creativity. Creativity consists mainly of aha moments and random lucky outbreaks. No, creativity also requires conscious efforts. So there are creativity and constraints. What are constraints? Are restrictions imposed on creativity by the external worlds. These are fixed and cannot be overcome through effort. However, working within them can boost creativity. For example, time limits, deadlines, physical disability, natural calamities, and force majeure. So, most of you must be knowing these. I know them. Why I have brought them here? Because I wanted to show that creativity is inborn and no difficult situation can stop one to be creative. First is Albert Einstein, famous and had dyslexia. Farida Kahlo, second one. At the age of 80, Farida Kahlo was injured in a bus accident which sent handrail through her back and out of her pelvis. But was amazing artist. Long Van Beaton, he was deaf, but he was amazing musician, if you know him. And Srinivasan Ramanujan, mathematician, who doesn't know him, he was suffering from malnutrition. Story must be known for many of them. They were with certain deformities, certain constraints, and certain obstacles in their life, but all of them overcome all the things which had objected their life. The constraints and restrictions did not stop them, and they all are amazing in the fields. We all know them: Einstein, Farida Kahlo, Bain Horton, and Ramanujan. So now, looking at them, we can say, can constraints be overcome? Yes, they can. They can. Do constraint aid or hamper creativity? No, neither they aid nor they hamper. It is all the efforts which you make for the creativity. Would the creative outputs of these thinkers be less or more without these constraints? I don't think so. Are constraints necessary for creativity? Not at all. Now, coming to the basic point, like how to foster creative thinking. Very important. Creative thinking is important, as I told you, apart with critical thinking. So, first is collaborative learning in the classroom, because I will be talking about the scenario of the classrooms. Because these teacher and teacher on that side. So, collaborative learning. Learning is a process in which multiple individuals come together to learn by tapping into each other's prior knowledge, skills, and resources through active discussion. In collaborative learning, all members of a group are accountable to each other in completing the common task. Debates, collaborative writing assignments, role play, and study teams all fall in this category. So, here I'm sharing with you the difference between group work and collaborative learning. In group work, there is independent division of work, and in collaborative learning, group effort is required. In group work, more freeloaders, but in collaborative learning, members are usually dependent. Minimal interaction between the members is required because there will be distribution of work. But here in collaborative learning, social skills are required, so ultimately they get improved. In group work, helping and sharing is minimal. But in collaborative, helping and sharing is expected. In group work, emphasis is on products only, but in collaborative learning, the emphasis is on how the process will move and what will be the end result. So, what are the benefits of collaborative learning? It includes development of higher levels of thinking, oral, self management, and leadership skills because all are working in a group and they need to collaborate with each other. Promotion of student faculty interaction because in collaborative learning, the teacher acts as a facilitator. So there is interaction because the guidance of the facilitator is required. Increase in student retention, self esteem, responsibility because they all are working in a group and the team has to come out with a project. Exposure to an increase in understanding of diverse perspective, preparation for real life social and employment situation because collaborative learning prepares them to work with each other, collaborate each other, understand each other. So they are preparing themselves for the social and employment situation. Now, second is problem solving. Problem based learning is approach that uses creative thinking to help learners solve real world problems that may or may not have a defined solution. The focus is on developing conceptual understanding and skills such as creative and critical thinking skills, research skills, and stuff, rather than finding a right answer. It is a dynamic and student centric approach as the learning is driven by the motivation to solve a problem rather than direct instructions from the teacher. So here we can say objects identify the problem, then they brainstorming, they set the learning objectives, study, share, and evaluate, and then clarify. Those seven steps which are important towards this. Number one, discuss the case. Whatsoever problem we are giving to the students, we have to discuss and make sure that everyone understands the problem. Identify the questions that need to be answered to shed light on the case. Brainstorm what the group already knows and identify potential solutions. Analyze the structure, the result of the brainstorming session. Formulate learning objectives for the knowledge that is still lacking. Do independent study individually or in smaller groups. Read articles or books. Follow practicals or attend lectures to gain the required knowledge. And then discuss the findings. So these are the seven steps. So here I highlight the traditional learning and problem based learning. Traditional learning told what we need to know, memorize it, problem assigned to illustrate how to use it. But here in problem based learning, we assign the problem, then identify what we need to know, learn, and apply to solve the problem. So, huge difference where we can see the critical as well as creative skills are being enhanced through this problems based learning methodology. Then the third one is possibility thinking. Possibility thinking is an approach of to foster creative thinking that encourages learner to see limitations as possibilities. It helps learner overcome the limitation of the negative stance of the fixed mindset as well as dead ends in critical thinking through imagining creative and diverse possibility. Now, possible thinking can be incorporated. Yes, how? Modeling of asking open ended questions by the teachers without imposing any answers on them, without saying anything. Encouraging learning to ask open ended questions, which we have to do in the class, so that they think that every question is a right question. No question is wrong. Providing space and time for learners to immerse in problems, engage with possibility, providing enabling context rich with resources, materials, and problems, offering learners balance between structure and freedom. So, and here before concluding, I would like to say that there are certain advantages which possible thinking offer. Like there is one science researchers, Anna, in 2000, she describes possibility thinking as central to little c creativity. Mini c, little c, if you can see, recollect it. It helps students to solve problem and create their own explanations and theories by helping them move from question of what does this do to what can I do with this? What it and what else can this be? What is this and what else this can be? Research by Kraft indicates that possible thinking helps learner become more capable in finding and solving problems independently and creatively by building their resilience and confidence. So, these approaches, which I already briefed, three approaches, that is problem learning, problem based learning, and possibility thinking, offer distinct advantages. Approaches must be chosen. Very important. These approaches must be chosen, keeping the classroom context and the needs of learner and their need for guidance in mind. These three approaches are highly interconnected and supplement each other very well. Therefore, wherever possible, an integrated approach where we can use all these approaches together may be used to support creative thinking. So, with this, I end my talk. I hope it was helpful. So, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope what I said was somehow of some benefit to you all. Thank you.
It was wonderful, ma'am. It was really wonderful listening to you. That was really nice.
Principal, sir. Thank you very much, ma'am. Wonderful elaboration of various learning methods, and you talked about inductive, deductive, adaptive learning, and collaborative learning, and then you have discussed about the very important point that is integrated learning. I want to ask one question about the integrated learning. We are
Yes, sir.
going with the integrated learning process. You know, vertical, spiral, and horizontal learning
Yes, sir.
process.
Yes, sir. Lateral learning also, sir.
Yeah, lateral learning also. Uh,
Yes.
m- I belong to medical field, and we are having four classes, means year, one course, one year, and the last year is 1.5 year, and one
Yes,
year
sir.
of internship. So what we are doing is, we are going with the
Yes, sir.
integration of first year to the last year,
Yes,
and
sir.
one person will reflect a subject of physiology, then in connection
Yes.
with that only the second year student will talk about pathology, third year
Yes, sir.
student will talk about surgery, and fourth year top person will talk about medicine, and the
Yes.
intern will talks about the real reality, the
Very,
real case study of the patient.
very nice.
That's
Very
how
nice.
we present. But many
Right.
of the time it happens that the first year student cannot catch what the seniors are saying. So we had to intervene in between, and we get a lot many questions also. But that is also a great thing, that at least we have
Yes, sir.
generated that inquisitiveness.
Yes.
But sometimes the words are little difficult in medical field. So how to make them acquainted with this kind of terminologies? Because when they are sitting all together, it becomes little difficult for first year students. When we are doing this kind of I think this is what we call it as a vertical or spiral, integration. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir, actually, the topic which you are discussing, it should be related to all. Because if the student of first year and the discussion is done by the fourth year, obviously the terminology will not be understood by the first year student and second year student, obviously. So the topic which are to be integrated, we have to keep this in mind. As I told in my one of the slides, that we have to know what we whom we are asking about and whom we are reporting to, like what kind of children and what kind of topic all can understand, then only the various approaches can be integrated. Obviously we have to understand that a topic taken should be such which can be understood by all the 4 year students. Otherwise it will be a futile existence for first year student. It will be like a Chinese, because they won't be able, as you said, they won't be able to understand the various terminologies. Or we can do one thing: before coming to the discussion and integrating various things on particular topic by different year students, we can give them a homework on different on that topic to the first year student also. Just only go through this topic and come up, and next day we have discussion on this topic. So come little have a look at this topic, so that all those who are involved, they have some idea about what kind of questions will be asked, or what are the content on which the discussion is taking place. So that can be done, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That self-directed learning, or we will be giving some kind of a homework to them, and then they will be coming prepared, and then they will be having a foundation to stand over there. And
Yes,
one more question is there, ma'am, if sir will allow that whether inductive, deductive logic or abductive logic, which one considered as a very reliable logic in the research process?
so problem solving, problem based
Problem.
learning. Yes, it
Yeah.
is, because it is creative, and so that is more important in research. That will be more helpful, sir. Problem based learning.
Yeah, we are giving some case studies or scenarios,
Yes, sir.
and then we
Yes.
ask students to work out on.
Thinking or
Uh,
some alignment with the problem solving approach to be
yes,
aligned.
sir. Sir, as in my last slide, I said that all the approaches are to be integrated in creative thinking. Alone cannot be, because in a class there are different kind of learners, and we have to cater to the all kind of learner. And depending upon what kind of topic or what kind of content we are giving to the students, so different this methodology can be integrated, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will be honored, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and I hope that my today's program would be helpful to most of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bedkar sir. Thank you. Naini sir, it is an opportunity for us. We are very we are very